All cats old enough to catch their own prey gather here beneath the podcast for a clan meeting. Welcome to Paws Clause, a podcast where we read the Warrior Cats books in chronological order. I'm Scout, joined by my co-host and top-tier DM Jill, and today we will be discussing the sixth published... I almost made it. Almost. AJ, leave that one in, maybe. Today we will be discussing the sixth published super edition, Tallstar's Revenge. Hello, Jill. It is another daytime recording.
It sure is.
I woke up at 5 a.m. this morning, and I don't know why.
So did I.
Damn. So we're both going to be on one today.
Zelda has been very loud today, and she is in, I was about to say the recording studio.
She's in the studio with us.
She is in the office with me, so she may poke her head up and,
I hope she doesn't turn your trackpad off again, like
Good
she did
God.
immediately before we started recording.
As soon as we were starting to record, she jumped up on my keyboard and was like, "Hey, pay attention to me." She tried to steal my chicken nuggets.
A crime! A criminal!
Yeah.
She has thoughts about Tallstar, and she wants us to know.
She does. Oh, I have thoughts about Tallstar. I have 2 full pages of notes about Tallstar.
Oh, fuck yeah. Before we get into the summary and everything, though, I will ask you, how is the Prey Running? Sounds like you had some chicken nuggies. That sounds tasty.
I did. I drove through. I had to go drop off some packages because I had some unexpected free time this morning.
Packages.
So I went to go drop off some packages, hit up a new bookstore, and drove through the McDonald's and got some chicken nuggets and fries.
Hell yeah, a little treat. I had a very boring bowl of cereal this morning.
I also had cereal for breakfast. I finished off our Cheerios.
Nice. We've got, right now, some of those, I didn't have this morning, but we've got, like, the Cheerios that are kind of almost honey bunches of oats. They're, like, Cheerios with little, like, granola bits and oats and stuff. They're very tasty. This morning I just had my vanilla Wheaties, which were vanilla Wheaties.
Vanilla Wheaties.
They get me through until lunch. A couple days ago, we made homemade burritos for dinner, and that was great.
Ooh, I love homemade burritos.
So tasty with the homemade tortillas too. Delicious.
I made chicken Caesar wraps for my lunches last week. It was divine.
That sounds so good. I love a nice wrap.
Me too. I feel like I don't do them enough. I should do them.
I know. They're
the so
same
easy
way.
too.
It's just it makes you feel a little bit more fancy than having a sandwich,
Yeah, exactly. Which, I can appreciate a good sandwich as well. I just am generally too lazy to have all of the ingredients that I want to put on a sandwich to make it more than just meat, cheese, and condiment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that.
Especially with how lettuce seems to just, go so bad.
It goes bad really quickly. What doesn't ever go bad, though, are the Polish covers, which I do want to bring up again. I didn't post it into the doc today. But the Polish cover for Tallstar's Revenge, exceptional again.
Once again, they knock it out of the frickin' park.
They do not miss. Jake is on there and he's staring at a snowflake, and it's very, very good.
The China one's pretty good too. It's very pretty.
Yeah, I love
it's got a little
fluffy
Tallstar standing on top of a cliff.
Yeah, I love this is like a very
paws.
It's like a very stout Tallstar. Usually we see a very lanky. This is a very substantial Tallstar to me.
Yeah.
His paws are very cute. Look at that little paw right there.
His peats at the back are all spread out. It's so cute.
I love the whiskers in the sunlight too, like the backlighting.
Yeah. It's really, really lovely.
Wonderful stuff.
Man, I feel like we have a lot to talk about, so we're not going to dwell too much on how the Prey is running.
Yeah, let's. I'll get into the summary here. I'll take us on a journey, on a Tallstar journey, and then we'll get into discussion. Excited to discuss this one. In this era of Wind Clan, the warriors are divided into 2 categories: the Moor Runners, who hunt and fight under open sky, and the Tunnelers, who dig and maintain a network of tunnels beneath the moor to bolster hunting in the cold season when prey goes to ground. Our protagonist, Tall Kit, is a child of 2 tunnelers who, despite his heritage, dreads the thought of training and working underground. He spends his kittenhood preparing himself to follow in his parents' footsteps and make them proud, not realizing the tension's building as Heatherstar, WindClan's current leader, begins to doubt the benefits of the tunnels are worth the risks. It's dangerous work, and several cats have been lost or injured in cave-ins recently, prompting Heatherstar to avoid assigning tunnelers any new apprentices. While the tunnelers, including his parents, are frustrated by this decision, Tall Kit, now Tall Paw, is relieved to follow the path of a Moorrunner instead. As summer approaches, wandering loners come to stay with WindClan, trading their stories and sharing their nests. Among them is a quiet and thoughtful cat named Sparrow, who is not afraid to challenge the traditions of the clans. In conversation with Tall Paw's father, Sandgorse, Sparrow becomes curious about the tunnels, and Sandgorse offers to take him exploring in an area of the network that Heatherstar has declared off-limits. Their misadventure ends in tragedy. The tunnels flood and collapse, and while Sparrow just barely escapes with his life, Sandgorse does not. To the tunnelers' dismay, this prompts Heatherstar to discontinue the practice of tunneling entirely. A grieving Tall Paw is convinced his father's death is the fault of Sparrow. Even after the visitors leave, he is consumed with his thoughts of revenge, which mingle with the feelings of isolation and distance from his clanmates that he has struggled with all his life. Shortly after his warrior ceremony, where he is named Talltail, he decides his destiny is to journey beyond the clans and hunt down Sparrow to avenge Sandgorse. Reluctantly, Heatherstar wishes him well and hopes he finds what he's looking for. On his journey, Talltail befriends the charismatic kitty pet Jake, who saves his life after he accidentally ingests poison and is enthralled by the tales of clan life he shares during his recovery. Talltail accepts Jake's offer to accompany him on his quest, and together the two eventually track down the loners. Jake tries to persuade Talltail out of his plan to kill Sparrow, but the clan cat is determined. It is only after he gets Sparrow alone that his conviction wavers. In speaking to the loner, he discovers Sandgorse gave his life to allow Sparrow the chance to escape. With this revelation and Jake's pleas rushing through his mind, Talltail lets go of his vengeance and forgives. Bereft of his former purpose, Talltail speaks to Jake of feeling adrift. Jake speaks of how the heart knows where the home is, and encourages Talltail to follow the pull he feels back to the moor. After expressing the depth of their connection to one another, the two part ways, each returning to the home that calls them. Talltail is welcomed back to WindClan, and finally, he is at peace with his place there. In the following years, utilizing the skills he accrued on his journey with Jake, he becomes clan deputy. Eventually, after Heatherstar loses her final life, he travels to the Moonstone to receive his own 9 lives from StarClan and become WindClan's leader. Once the ceremony is complete, his father is at last able to express his pride in his son and impart a prophecy to the newly named Tallstar. There will be a cat, kin of your dearest friend, who will be the key to the survival of the clans. Tallstar vows to watch over and guide this cat, and thinks, with fondness, of Jake.
Oh man.
These cats are gay.
These cats are so gay. Very, very, very gay, and I love that for them.
It's great. I want to upfront say I felt like there was some padding in here, especially in Tallstar's childhood.
Oh my god, yeah.
And how much of the book was spent on his apprenticeship.
It was weird. It was a weird amount of focus on him being a child. I really would have loved more adult stuff.
Yeah, I really wanted way less of the child stuff and way more of him on his adventure with Jake.
Yeah.
That's not just because they're very gay.
I have a conspiracy theory based on some of the research I did that you'll notice I tossed into the Erin Corner.
Yes.
I have a theory that perhaps the publisher was like,
Publisher being homophobic.
Yes. Because, and you know what? I'll just bring this up now. Kate Carey has said in blog posts that Tallstar never took a mate or had kits, and that his heart always belonged to his Jake. And she has said that she sees Tallstar and Jake as mates. However, the publisher believes that they are, quote unquote, all caps G, all caps F, good friends. So...
They are silencing
the gay
cats.
Us.
They're silencing us.
Yes. So, conspiracy time. We need more of him and his family rather than focusing on him and Jake. Which,
snooze.
Whatever.
I mean, his family, there's interesting stuff with his home life. And I do enjoy learning. But wow, we got a lot of scenes of him like racing the other apprentices.
Yeah.
And talking about how much he loves to run around.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that about him, but I do get it.
Yeah, we understand. I mean, I feel like the super editions definitely have a page count that they're trying to meet in order to be considered super editions. And
yeah, I think that's so much to their detriment. And it's too bad that that's the way that it has to work because of publishing and the way that these books work. But after like the crisp, tight storytelling of the last two novellas that we read, getting into this was like, oh, we're back in the same scene from three different angles, kind of at three different slightly changed times. But that's really the only criticism I had for this book, for the most part, like when it comes to the enjoyment of reading it, is just that it's a little bit bloated, but that is just what being a super edition is. But I wanted to talk about that a little bit up front.
Yeah. Let's talk about, I see that you have it in your notes as well, the more runners versus the tunneler classification. I wish that they had done more with it.
It's so disappointing.
It's so cool, but they just didn't do anything with it, really. To the
point where there wasn't even a situation where the benefits of the tunnels were really shown.
Yeah, they kept talking about how the tunnels are beneficial, but they never really show it. And I understand, because I read it and I can oh yeah, I get it, but it would be nice if there had been something to show it.
Yeah, I just would have liked a more evenly weighted pros and cons list.
Yes.
Because in the end, it really does feel like Heather Starr is making an obvious choice, not a difficult one, when it comes to getting rid of the tunnels and closing them off and saying no more tunneling, because it is very dangerous what they're doing. Turns out.
I did think that saying you can't even chase a rabbit into their den was a little
that was
much.
Too much. Yeah.
That was a little
was so
much
weird.
Yeah, it was very odd. But yeah, so cool conceit, not very well executed.
Which is too bad, because it really cool idea. The idea of having sort of two classifications and just the concept of cats being in the cats in tunnels is a cool idea.
They had a full infrastructure there.
Yeah. It was interesting to me that they mentioned Shattered Ice by name several times.
Oh yeah.
When this was written, it was 2013, but specifically it came out in the middle of the Dawn of the Clans. Or no, sorry. This super edition was released in between the Sun Trail and Thunder Rising. Which,
interesting.
What a fucking crazy release schedule they have.
Yeah, honestly, wild to me.
That was all in 1 year. It's not, it's not it was released, Thunder Rising was released a year after Tallstars, which was a year after the Sun Trail. No, it's all the same year.
It's all the same year.
So I thought it was really interesting that they had Shattered Ice in here, because I I feel like the whole digging tunnels thing wasn't as highlighted even in that first one. So it was very interesting that in the chronology of releasing them, that he played kind of this mythical role as a tunneler, as like the first tunneler of WindClan. When, hey, Shattered Ice doesn't even end up in WindClan in the end. He goes and lives in RiverClan.
God, that's so true. Wow. Love that. I have a question, because you reread the books more recently than I did.
Yes.
Like the other books. Is cats travel, like normal cats, non-leaders and non-medicine cats, is them traveling to the Moonstone, like, was that a normal thing?
See, this is also something that's been tripping me up, because I don't remember that being the case.
I don't remember that being, like, a thing.
I don't remember that just any apprentice goes to the Moonstone.
Yeah. Okay, I thought I was going crazy.
And I maybe it's something that was in that first arc and a half or whatever, and then it changed once they got to the lake and they're using the moon pool instead. But there's a lot of stuff in like the back half of the series that we'll get to way in the future, without saying too much, that is very like the moon pool, the Moonstone equivalent there is extremely insular, and like it's almost heretical to have non-medicine cats going there.
Right.
So I don't know at what point that changed, or if this is like a weird thing that they are just sliding in here for the purposes of storytelling. But I also keep getting tripped up by that.
It does say while warriors are prohibited from visiting the Moonstone without special permission in the wiki.
Yeah, because the thing is that I remember Firepaw and maybe Greypaw like going with Blue Star to the Moonstone for some reason in the first arc. But I remember that being like a special situation. I don't remember it being like part of the coming of age of like you're an apprentice, and once you're an apprentice, you get to go to the Moonstone. Now,
yeah, I don't remember that either.
Yeah, I was going to say it could be just a WindClan thing, but then I remembered that we have ThunderClan apprentices here.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify because I thought I was being gaslit.
Yeah,
about new apprentices just getting to visit the Moonstone.
We gotta keep an eye on that once we get into the Prophecies Begin, because I also, like you said, I read these not like extremely recently, but I reread them in like 2020, like the Prophecies Begin, the New Prophecy, most of the Power of Three, and that was confusing to me as well. So
it's interesting. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. How did you feel about Shrewpaw / Shrewpaw?
Fuck that bitch.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
Fuck that hoe.
And
he sucks ass. He sucks ass.
Every scene where Shrewpaw in every stage of life. So this is like an apprentice who is a little bit older than
he's like what, a couple of moons older, basically?
Yeah, like a moon and a half or 2 moons older, and is constantly deeply bullying Tallpaw, and still continues to do it
deeply,
like not just a little bit, but like constantly calling him worm, talking about how he's a little worm and he's
like
gonna
talking about how he's not good for anything except being underground, and it's rough.
It is. And then every single time that Tallpaw or at any point tries to push back against this, an adult comes over and is like, Tallpaw, you gotta chill a little bit. And I'm like, no, this is fucking insane to me.
Yeah.
You need to be, the child being bullied is not the one who needs the reprimands here. And even the scene in which Tallpaw, like, makes a real fight between the two apprentices where they're not supposed to use claws when they're just, practicing their battle moves.
Yeah, that's fucked up. That happens a lot in these books.
It does happen a lot, and it's always like the person who didn't instigate it but who tried to like fight back against it ends up getting the lecture about it, which
really a commentary on how bullying is treated in our schools.
For real. Anyways, Shrewpaw just needs to be beat up by somebody to put him in line, I think.
I agree. Yeah, I wrote in here, Shrewpaw is such a little dick.
Just, like, really no redeeming qualities. And even at one point is like, I'm just playing around, dude. And it's like, no, you're not. You're committing hate crimes.
Yeah, you're literally, like, being a bully. On a happier note, the visitors.
I like the visitors.
I love the visitors. I would have loved, like, a little bit more history of them.
Yeah.
Like, when did they start coming to WindClan? Like, what's their connection? Because, like, it's revealed in the end that one of them, Mole, actually does believe in StarClan.
Yeah, which I thought was so fascinating.
In StarClan. Mm-hmm. But there's no, like, they're not warriors. Some of them have kitty pet names. Like, it is very interesting. I think they are a fascinating addition.
There's one named Algernon.
Yes!
Which is just amazing. An amazing, incredible name for a cat.
There's a scene where Rena, who's one of the visitors, basically gives Tallpaw a nickname. And he just does not know how to respond to it. She keeps just calling him Tall instead of Tallpaw. And he's like, that's not my name. And it's like, she knows that's not your name. She's trying to be affectionate and give you a nickname, but clan cats have no concept of that.
Clan cats have no concept of nicknames, which I'm just thinking about now, and that's so funny.
Yeah.
Unless it's for bullying purposes.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, I love them.
I really wanted more. Yeah, I wanted more of them. Like, why did we spend so much time on, like, Tall Kit? Like, baby, Tallpaw. I would have liked more time with the visitors instead. And I think that would have made the whole story hit a little harder.
Yeah, and honestly, you know me, I'm always fascinated by any group of cats that is outside of the core 4 clans. Like, I am immediately fascinated by them.
Yeah.
Like, I know you're not as huge a fan of the tribe as I am, but, like, I was always fascinated by the tribe, by Sky Clan, Ravenpaw and Barley, when we were reading Dawn of the Clans and we found out about the park.
Yeah.
The cats of the park.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am always fascinated, and I know you've talked about some other groups that show up later. Like, I am fascinated by any group of cats that has a different sort of society.
Yeah, because it's so interesting.
Such good world building.
Yeah, and it's so interesting to see that mingle with the clans also, and see this kind of cultural exchange in a way. I was also so fascinated, and I wanted more time with them and, like, more of an explanation of their kind of, like, why they do this. Why do they go on, like, a little journey and come visit WindClan in the summer and then go away again? That is so... I want to know more.
Should we talk about his parents, perhaps?
Yeah.
I have a lot of complex feelings about Tallstar's
Tell me about
parents.
that. Yeah, tell me about it.
Palebird is very clearly suffering from postpartum depression.
Mm-hmm. And I did find... Yeah, I found something. I found that Carrie even, like, directly confirmed that in one of her blog posts, which I thought was cool that they are, like, saying that directly to the fans.
Yeah, and, it is a very complicated, upsetting thing. But, oh man, I felt so bad for Tallstar.
I know.
He just wants his mom to love him, and he is so broken up about it. He's just a boy.
It's really well portrayed, like, that it is something that is eating away at Talltail throughout his whole childhood, but they do it in a way that doesn't demonize or villainize Palebird for being depressed in that way, which I think is good. I think that there's a lot of really, like, it is another moment of surprising nuance.
Yeah.
For these books.
Yeah, and it is rough because he's like, he doesn't understand that it's not necessarily her fault. all the time. He thinks that it's just, she misses her other kids so bad, and he's like, well, maybe I should. He very much is operating under a lot of, like, I am the only kid, so I have to, like, live up to my parents' dreams, which, as much as everyone's like, oh, Sandgorse really loved you, I'm like, he didn't really show it.
No.
He only showed it when his son was excited about doing the things he wanted to do.
I gotta say, I am not the biggest Sandgorse fan in the world.
Yeah, me either. He was very much... It was very much a conditional kind of love, it felt like, and it was very rough.
Yeah, I think...
I wrote down, it's not my dream, Dad, it's yours, which, like, is basically the relationship boiled down.
Yeah. I think where there was a lot of subtlety when it came to Palebird, like, all of that just went out the window when it came to Sandgorse.
Yeah.
It was very, very much like...
We're tunnelers, kid.
This is a very specific kind of guy.
Yeah, so I thought the relationship with his parents was very interesting. He didn't really get a lot of support from anyone, basically, except for Barkface and then Jake.
For real.
Like even StarClan didn't fucking visit him.
Yeah, that was fucked up. It's not.
That was so fucked.
And later they're like, you weren't ready to receive our thoughts or whatever. It's like
shut the hell up.
Just talk
to... Do you not see how this child is depressed?
He's a child. Like, you need to give him a support system.
Yeah. Whack.
Like,
Whack
it's no wonder that he goes through his angry, depressed phase and then leaves for a while. Like, of course he does. He has no support.
Wild to me. I do feel bad. My earliest note does say Sparrow is acting very sus. And it turns out Sparrow was not actually sus, but, like, it really, like, makes you not blame Tallstar for what he is doing. Like, not blame, but, like, you understand why Tallstar is doing what he does, because we have... Tallstar is a bit of an unreliable narrator.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting and cool to see.
Yeah, because he is immediately suspicious of Sparrow, the way he's acting.
Yeah, and in the end, it kind of is just that Sparrow is a quiet guy.
Yeah.
I think Sparrow is the kind of dude that's, like, not actually, like, a problematic guy, but just there's something about the way that he acts that makes you think he's going to say something problematic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Now, was it not Sparrow who had the conversation with Tallpaw? It was, right? I'm not misremembering that, which I think is really interesting, that there is this conversation where Sparrow is like, yo, you gotta not, like, try so hard to please your father. You have to do what feels right for you. And then it's just so fascinating that that's like a really positive moment for Tallpaw, and then that same cat kind of, it gets flip-flopped around, and that same cat ends up being who Tallpaw blames for the death of his father. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I did enjoy that. I enjoyed that a lot. I don't really have a lot more to say until we get to Jake. Do you?
No, I'm ready to move into Jake Town.
I love Jake.
Jake is so good.
He's just such a fun, cheerful guy. He's like exactly what Tallstar needed.
For real. And it's just so important that Tallstar see, like, a kind of unconditional affection in this way, and, like, a cat who really just believes in him and wants to see him succeed and, like, wants to just spend time with him, because he was not getting that in Wind Clan.
Yeah, he was not getting it from anyone.
For real. I don't know what is up with that.
Yeah, I thought it was just a funny moment when Tallstar has to use the litter box. Listeners, I keep referring to him as Tallstar. He's not Tallstar until the very, very end of the book.
That's true. He is Tall Tale at this point.
But I am just used to calling him Tallstar. And the book is called Tallstar's Revenge, so I can be forgiven for that.
Yes.
There's a moment when he has to use the litter box.
It's so
and he just mentions that Jake is there watching him take a shit, and it's so funny.
It's so funny. There was something about Jake being like, you're in the vet basket. I don't know why, but that line...
I love the descriptions of two-leg things. It cracks me up every time.
It's so good every time.
And there's that moment where Jake is talking about, like, oh yeah, my human and I can... my two-leg and I can, like, talk to each other to an extent. I taught him food. He doesn't really get it, but, you know... I don't understand a word that he's saying. I just say yes to everything.
His accent is terrible.
Oh my god, that whole conversation killed me. Like,
it was so funny.
As someone who owns a cat, like, yeah, you do kind of pick up on like what specific meows mean. Like, I can tell when Zelda is giving me like a hey, I want food versus hey, I want the window open versus hey, get the fuck out of bed kind of meow. Like, I can tell the difference between her meows, and, you know, sometimes I can meow back and it seems like, okay, she at least understands that I'm like communicating with her. But it's so fucking funny.
It's so funny to see it from the other direction.
Yeah.
Just the fact that Jake describes it as he's trying to teach his housefolk how to speak cat is so good.
It's so good. The whole, like, oh, I'll take you to the edge of two-leg place. Oh, well, it's late. I should stay with you for the night. Oh, well, why don't I just take you over this hill? Like constant, like, Jake just being like, well, I could take you a little further. And Tallstar was like, I want to say no, but, like, for some reason, I also want to say yes. And I'm just like, you fucking gay ass. Oh, also, there's some nice scenes where Tallstar teaches Jake some clan things, like how to hunt. And I wrote down Jake is Zeldacore, because he said, I caught a bird once. It was already hurt, though. Because I don't know if we mentioned it on the podcast that my cat Zelda did, in fact, catch a bird one day, but it was a baby that couldn't fly. So, like...
Catch is doing a lot of work in that sentence.
Yeah, so very Jake core, very Zelda core.
I love that. Yeah, I was also thinking of Zelda cat in that moment when I read that bit.
I thought Showdown with Sparrow was very good.
Yeah, I liked
Tallstar is like roiling with rage. He's like, I have to kill him, and Jake's like, dude, you don't. You can just tell him. Like, talk to him. Yeah. Emotionally mature king.
The amount of, like, things that of the way that Jake interacts with the world and communicates with other people that Tallstar then takes into sort of the rest of his time in the clan is so good to me.
Yeah.
The way that throughout the last couple of chapters, we see Tallstar back in the clans, but doing things where it's like, what would Jake have done in this scenario? Like, and Talltail at the time trying to emulate the way that he thinks Jake would de-escalate a situation or explain something to somebody else.
Yeah, it's so nice.
It's really nice.
But yeah, Tallstar doesn't end up killing Sparrow, which I loved. I thought we were going to get a moment of Sparrow dying when he fell off the cliff. I was, like, so worried we were going to get that, like...
The classic...
the classic death by natural means as to avoid murder. But I'm really glad we didn't. I'm glad that they talked. Like, even if they didn't, like, make up, I'm glad things were, like, civil enough that Tallstar and Jake were able to just, like, peace out.
Yeah, there was a very realistic, like, feeling to that whole exchange where it doesn't end in violence, but it does end in, like, we're never going to see each other again.
Yeah, like, it doesn't end in violence, and it ends in, like, peace to an extent. Like, we're not going to hurt each other, but also I do not want to see you again. Like, this is the end of our relationship.
Yes. And I think that's very, like, real in a really good way. I just want to point out, I felt really bad for Rena in
I did too.
So much of this. Rena is one of the traveling cats, one of the visitors. She's the daughter of two of them. And she has the biggest crush on Tallstar.
Oh, yeah.
And he is
so gay.
So not on that level at all.
Yeah, he does not understand.
So deeply over his head in a way that is comical, but also Like, she had so many feelings for Tallstar and just absolutely iced the fuck out. Just no response.
Yeah.
So shout out.
He didn't even seem to like recognize that she was flirting with him either.
Yeah, exactly. Which I can relate to.
Yeah.
But
oh god. Okay, so when Jake and Tallstar inevitably have to part because Jake's like, look, I really care about you, but I do have to stay with my family, like with my two legs.
Dude, that scene,
that broke me.
They are in love.
They are in love. Okay, you're my best friend and you always will be, is one of the lines. Another one, which was when Jake is like, I wouldn't be happy out on the wars, and Tallstar's just like, you wouldn't be happy with me? And I'm like, oh god! Oh, these cats! Oh god, this hurts!
There's also the moment, there's even the moment where Tallstar is like, well, what if I came and lived with you? And
he's
Jake
like,
is
you wouldn't be happy.
You wouldn't be happy.
Oh, I love them so much. They are so in love. Then there's another mention later when I believe it's when he's talking to Heather Starr. And she's, talking about the bonds that he made. And he's just like, yeah, Jake's is the deepest bond he's ever known. And I'm just like, oh my god, I need to lay down. Like, oh my god. And then the very last thing is at the end when he's getting his 9 lives. And there's a moment where he thinks of Jake. And the line is like, every cat I've ever loved. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, literally.
It's just
text.
It's just annoying. It's just avoiding censorship at this point. Like, they are gay. It is canon. I'm accepting it as so. Like,
yeah, literally that he, like, every cat I've ever known, and he pauses and thinks of Jake and then says every cat I've ever loved, and it's like, yes, lay it on us.
Love that shit.
Good shit.
That's pretty much all my notes. It's just they were gay, and I love that for them.
They were gay. I love that for them.
Oh, Deadpaw, that was out of pocket.
Naming him Deadpaw, yeah, I fucking loved that whole thing though. Like, I really liked
I loved it. It was great, but also
Pocket
like
as a character, out of pocket and unacceptable that Deadpaw is just like, yeah, I'll go with that. I get it. Like, I get that it is a name to like highlight the thing that is different about me, to make cats underestimate me. It's like, okay,
but at the same time, it's like, oh Jesus Christ! It kind of, the fact that it wasn't telegraphed beforehand is why I was like, oh, this is out of pocket. Like the fact that they didn't say like, hey, would you be chill with this?
Anything ahead of time. Yeah, they didn't talk about it.
Wild.
And of course this is all simply because there is the deputy of WindClan, when we get to The Prophecies Begin, is Deadfoot. And this is like before they really had telegraphed, I think, and known how all of the naming conventions work, where it's like, yeah, he wouldn't have just been Dead Kit. I don't think a mother would name their child Dead Kit. So we have
It's weird that it wasn't just like his warrior name. Like, we can't just call him Hot Paw until he becomes a warrior.
Hop is such a cute prefix too. I feel bad. Justice for like Hop Leap or something, like.
Yeah.
But I really liked the whole sort of subplot, even though I thought this book was going to end at chapter 40, and then it just kept going for a couple more chapters.
That's so true.
It really is like, oh yeah, he's returned to WindClan. That's a beautiful cap on the story. Oh, we're still okay, yeah.
Long ass book.
It just kept going. But then we did get that, and we got the 9 lives ceremony at the end, which is always fun.
I love a 9 lives ceremony. They're always so fun.
I will eat them up.
For real. So Tallpaw / Tallstar / Talltail is Hamlet, and I will die on this fucking hill.
Oh my god.
This is such a Hamlet-ass story. He's got the whole, should I kill him, should I not? Is it gonna be revenge if I kill him or not? Like, did he actually do it or not? And then he's got his friend who's like, hey bud, I just care about you, please talk to me.
Aww, I love that.
And then his mom gets remarried and has new kids, and it's just like, this shit is fucking Hamlet.
Wow, I can't believe it's Hamlet. I love that. As somebody who doesn't know shit about fuck when it comes to the bard, I'm sorry that I can't contribute more than just being hell yeah, bestie.
I just needed to say that it was Hamlet.
I love that.
All right, Scout.
Let's go to the Erin Corner.
Hell yeah. I love the Erin Corner.
I love the Erin Corner too. Unfortunately, not too much this time. There's not too much, couldn't find many comments from Kate Carey on like the writing of this book specifically. She did say several times that she loves Jake. She loved writing Jake. She loved having Jake around. I agree with all of that.
Yeah, 100%.
Again, I love what we talked about earlier, the fact that Kate is 100% on Tallstar and Jake is romantic. Yeah, and the publishers are silencing them.
Again, there's always been controversy over confirming things outside of the text. But I feel like taking into context the fact that this was written this was published in 2013. This is a kids series, it's hard to push the boundaries that the conservative populace puts in place.
Mm-hmm.
And I think especially for this series, writing it the way they did, I feel like taking into account the time period, I feel like they did the best that they could. Because if I remember correctly, when did the Korra finale come out?
That was a big day for the gays. Huh?
Well, that was a big day for queer children's media. That was definitely. Basically that opened the floodgates, and that wasn't until 2014. So prior to 2014, a lot of more, I feel popular or meant for widespread consumption or things with bigger fandoms, a lot of them had to kind of downplay it. You know?
Steven Universe, even this, which isn't, it's a very queer show, but I think in the first season, it's it's not breaking ground in the same way that some of the later seasons do.
Right.
When it comes to overt queer representation. But that didn't even start airing until November 2013, which is after this book came out. So you're right. Yeah, thinking back, that's true that you really were not seeing very much by way of queer representation in children's media.
Yeah, and we also have to remember it wasn't until 2015 that the Supreme Court struck down the bans on same-sex marriage. So
fuck, dude.
Yeah, keeping in us now in 2023 can be man, I wish they had actually made these cats gay. I feel for the time period that they were writing this in, they were doing the best they could.
Yeah. I forget how...
Especially with such a huge international audience, because
massive.
That shit gets censored to hell.
One of the things that we pointed out, or one of the things we talked about at the top of the episode was the Chinese cover. And I know that,
there's a whole trading card game in Taiwan.
In 2023, Disney is still we gotta worry about we can't have anything gay in the movies because of China, which is covering up for just a lot of shit internally, I think, and in media and stuff. That's a big topic that we don't have time to get into on this podcast, but I agree. I think that that's a really astute thought of sort of putting it in context of the time when it came out. And I agree with you. And also, I'm not a big death of the author person. I think that it is both good for you to have your own reads on things, good for people to have their own interpretations of media, but also I do think that intent of the authors and input from authors, in retrospect or after the fact, is and context for those things is all very important and all mixed up in itself. So I think that that's I don't know where I'm going with that. Just thinking about things.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. It's a lot of where a lot of discussions of media tend to get kind of dicey, I will say.
Yeah. Speaking of discussions of media,
oh boy.
Can you take us into the fandom space? Let's share some tongues.
Of course. AO3 delivered.
Let's go.
There were 12 tagged specifically for the book Tallstar's Revenge. A couple of them are minor rewrites. One of them is about if Jake had brought Rusty to WindClan as a kit, instead of Rusty ending up in ThunderClan. There's 59 Jake Talltale works. So there are 59 fics just tagged for our baby boys.
That is the biggest number we've had so far.
Well,
right?
It's about to get even bigger because there are 181 fics that have Tallstar tagged.
Damn! People love this guy.
People love this guy. I mean, I like him too.
Yeah,
there are 78 fics for Jake.
Let's go!
There are 7 with Shrewclaw, which I thought was interesting.
That is interesting.
But yeah, I did go through, I read a couple of the Jake and Talltale works last night. They were very sweet, very good. Everyone's like, these cats are gay, and I really believe that, and we just took that and ran, and it's wonderful. But other than that, I mean, there's fics out there. Go read them. On Tumblr, we've got some more of that dope woodcut art. This of the moment where Talltale saves Renkit and Flykit from a hawk.
Yes. Oh, this rules. Look at that hawk's face. That hawk is like, I have fucked up.
There's another one that says, how when The Great Gatsby entered the public domain, someone uploaded it in its entirety to AO3 and added in a kiss between Nick and Gatsby. I hope that in 3013 or whatever, somebody puts Tallstar's Revenge on a future AO3 and canonizes Tallstar and Jake's relationship, and that is the only surviving copy of the book. There is... Are you familiar with the Hanahaki trope?
I am familiar with it, but give a breakdown for the viewers just in case.
Okay, so viewers, the Hanahaki trope is where essentially unrequited feelings manifest physically in someone's body as flowers in their hearts and lungs and stuff until said feelings are confessed or dealt with in some way, or they keep repressing them until it inevitably kills them. Somebody did an art piece on Tumblr of Tallstar with Hanahaki disease, but is for his father's love. It was so dope. And I just really loved seeing, it is very typically a romantic trope, so it was really cool seeing it in a platonic representation. Some people ship Tallstar and Shrewclaw. Don't know how I feel about that.
I like this post here that is talking about that one tweet.
Yeah, this is, everyone talks about Tall Jake, but Tall Shrew is the literal embodiment of, and it is the tweet that says, when I was 7, I had a crush on a girl in my class, and I didn't know how to deal with it, so I wrote her a letter that just said, get out of my school. Yeah.
I love that tweet so much.
There's just some really devastating good art of Tallstar and Jake. Some people talking about whether or not Shrewclaw was kind of wasted potential as a narrative foil because they both have to deal with the grief of losing a parent and blaming someone for it. I don't know. I think it was an interesting thing. It could have been nice if they had delved deeper into it, but I feel like Shrewclaw was just such a dick that it didn't feel.
As with a lot of the stuff in the top half of the book when we're in Tall Paws apprenticeship and everything, I feel like there's a lot of threads there that are not living up to their full potential. And I think Shrewclaw is one of those. Very interesting that he just dies at the end too.
Yeah. I mean, whatever.
It's fine, I guess. I don't know. Yeah,
I don't like him, but he's also just a nothing character to me. I do not care about him.
Yeah. Anyways,
Reddit. All I found was one thing, and it was just I just read Tallstar's Revenge, and I can't help but ship Tallstar with everyone. He just has a lot of chemistry with a lot of cats. It's wonderful.
He does.
Barkface is another one that a lot of people tend to ship him with.
I can see that. I liked Barkface a lot in this
was a good
story.
Character.
It's just I also love that he apparently has a stumpy tail, which I didn't realize, but I just like that. I always love when a cat has a little stumpy tail.
Yeah. There's a slew of AMVs that we will link I cannot get into all of them, but there are like several just little meme ones of Jake and Tallstar being goofy together. Quite a few Jake and Tallstar videos romantically,
Hell yeah.
A lot of musical theater in this run through.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some really good stuff out there.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about the Welcome to the Black Parade
yeah,
one you sent me last night.
I cannot talk about that, but wow.
Yeah.
What a concept. It would have done numbers in the early 2010s.
It would have. Amazing that it just came out 2 years ago.
Right. Why don't we talk about our Warrior Cat of the Week?
Yeah. My Warrior Cat of the Week this week, probably not a surprise to anybody, it is Jake.
Yeah, so is mine.
Yeah.
Rena was my runner-up.
Rena was your runner-up. My runner-up was Hopkit / Deadpaw.
Nice.
Because I love a child burdened with responsibility.
We know this about you.
We know this about me. I can't resist them.
Yeah, I feel like there's not much more to say about Jake, except, of course, everybody loves Jake because we also love Jake. Like, he's just a wonderful character, and I love seeing him.
I love seeing him. I think that he brings, like, anytime he is in a scene, there is a freshness and, like, a joy that is unique to him.
Yeah.
And I think that knowing and caring about Jake is going to make Firestar's whole story, like, is going to add an additional layer that I think is really going to be interesting for me to have. So I'm excited to have been reading in this order and kind of getting this as a precursor to the Rusty to Firestar pipeline.
Me too. Well, all right. I think that's all we've got for you guys today.
That is it. So, if you have thoughts, opinions, questions, or memes to share with us, you can write to us at pawsandclawspod@gmail.com. That's paws, as in what a cat has, claws, as in the part of speech, pod, as in podcast. We are also on Twitter at Paws and Claws, and on Tumblr at Paws Clause Pod. Listeners who are 18 years and older can come join us on Discord, which will be linked in the show notes. You can find me on Twitter at HumbleGoat, and you can see the art that I do, including our podcast cover art, at scoutwilkinson.myportfolio.com. Links to my portfolio, as well as my Ko-fi page, are also in the show notes.
And you can, for now, find me on Twitter at plot_twists, or on Tumblr at antique-romantic. Our next episode will be out in 2 weeks, where we will discuss the 4th published Super Edition, Crooked Star's Promise. Stoked!
Yes!
Read along by buying the book from a local bookstore or checking out a copy from your local library. Until then, dear listeners, may StarClan guide your paws.